snowboarding. I don't really care about it.
Alright guys, get ready. You guys ready?
Ready. Hey. Fire.
Isn't that all? Hey, Dad.
They will shoot again. You got to listen to me talk for a moment. That's the deal. We got a misfire. There we go. Now they'll fire again after I talk. So what we're preparing today is 1864 Harper's Ferry, specifically looking at the medical attributes of what Harper's Ferry did. Harper's Ferry, for much of its existence, was a major military base, mostly for the Union Army. From 1863 until 1864, it becomes a massive military base. At any given time, there could be upwards of 60,000 Union soldiers in and around Harper's Ferry. There are garrison units up on that mountain there, Maryland Heights. There's still an old stone fort up there. There was once a cannon that could fire a 100-pound shell out of it, and it could shoot 4 miles. There are other troops up on Loudon Heights and Bolivar Heights, all areas you can visit today. Bolivar Heights is the only one you can get to by car, so great opportunity, great view. What we're looking at, though, this weekend are the medical attributes of this. Now, the first major issue with Civil War medicine is disease. Of the 620,000 soldiers who die in the Civil War, 2/3 of them will die of illness, much of it caused by the food they are given. So the men who are going out to fight the war, to bring the country back together, they're being given little pieces of hardtack. Think of just a very thick saltine cracker, probably has some bugs living in it. Given some coffee, maybe some sugar or molasses, and then some meat, either beef or pork. Usually it's rancid when it gets to them, and if it's not, it's probably going to very quickly because it's living in this little bag at their side. You'll notice the lack of fresh fruits and vegetables in that diet. Many soldiers get sick from malnutrition, and that is what kills many of them. What we're going to focus on here is what happens on the battlefield. Those are the wounds and the injuries you learn most about. That is where the amputations come from. That is where the true physical scars come from, and what we see and hear about the most. The weapons of the time are fairly fearsome for the time period. They are now rifled, meaning they can shoot very far, very accurately. But the tactics being used for most of the war are dated by at least 20 to 30 years. They're fighting the last war that they had already fought in a new war with new technology. They're fighting with weapons, or their plans were made up for weapons that were smoothbore, like the one I am holding, that are effective to maybe 100 yards out. These are effective to 300 yards or even more out. They can shoot long distances. They can fire very rapidly for the time period. One shot every 20 seconds is your goal as a soldier. And you can get faster as you go on and on. These guns will heat up. You'll probably have burns on your finger from firing them. Sometimes the guns will get so hot, as you load it, the gun will cook off early and just fire into the sky, hopefully not taking a piece of you with it. The bullets they're using are made of lead. They're about the size of my thumb, and they will fly downfield, and when they hit your bone, it will probably shatter the bone because of how slow it's moving. Modern weaponry, when a bullet is fired at someone, it cuts straight through the bone. It doesn't necessarily break it. When old-time bullets hit you, they're large enough, they're soft enough, and they're moving slowly enough that they shatter your bone completely. So if you get hit by one of these even today, they have no choice but to cut your arm off because there is no arm left to save. There's no bone left to mend, just shattered pieces. So over 200,000 soldiers will die on the battlefield as a result of the Civil War. Many more will die because of the wounds they suffer, either due to infection, or it just takes them that much longer to eventually pass on to the other side. It is America's most gruesome war. If you take every conflict America has ever been involved in, take all of the American deaths, add them up together, the Civil War deaths still number higher than the deaths of all those other wars. And I'm including the world wars, Afghanistan, Vietnam, War of 1812, Revolution, all of that. The Civil War still has more deaths than any other war in American history. And that is the war we talk about most here at Harper's Ferry, the war that truly changed it once and for all. Once a booming industrial town, the armory is destroyed, the townspeople leave, it is turned into a military base. Particularly for Harper's Ferry, it is the center of the wounded and the sick for the Army of the Shenandoah Valley. They are sent from the army in the field back up here to recuperate and be healed. And if they die, then they will be placed on a train in their coffin and sent home if the family has enough money. Otherwise, they are buried all around wherever they can find some space. Even today, there are still unmarked graves in Harper's Ferry. We do not know where the soldiers are, but we do know that some exist. Possibly under the ground where you're standing, more likely out along where that dirt area is now that helps keep flooding out from the Potomac. That was put in after the Civil War. So it's a very gruesome experience that these soldiers are going through during the war. They're wearing their hot wool uniforms.